Welcome to this podcast, MISIONES. In this occasion, we have Apostle Erickson Salazar and Pastor Mirna Franco. This is great. We are here flowing in the prophetic for the house. That's right, Pastor Mirna. How are you? Good evening. Very well. That's great. We rejoice that we can share a little bit with you regarding the different missions that you have had with Apostle and your different experience. Here in the ministry, we would like to know what has been your experience in the different missions that you have been to. Thank you so much for the invitation, says Pastor Mirna. Yes, in the ministry, we have witnessed unforgettable experiences, and working with Apostle in different missions, it's been a lot of them. Because from the beginning, we have been structured, we've been taught, we've been prepared to then be exposed to the mission. And how our leader, JC, was saying, she was explaining clearly, and when I listened to her, it was taking me back to the beginning. Because since I came to the ministry, yes, we wanted to be fed, we wanted to be structured and taught, but we didn't want to be exposed. We wanted to stay in the place where we were, in the back, where nobody would. So after we have been taught and we have gained all the knowledge, then it is time for us to be exposed to the mission. And so if we start numbering all the missions that I've been to with Apostle, I would not finish. But I can mention one of them that impacted me a great deal in the beginning. And it was one time that I was sent to a mission in the U.S., and it was for a surprise party for Apostle Ricardo Reyes, where the celebration was going to take place in a specific place, and I visited different places with Apostle Ricardo Reyes, and he was talking to us about different aspects that I have been taught about by Apostle Erickson, and I was really impacted. And I remember that I wrote a note to Apostle Erickson, and I was sharing with him everything that I was seeing, which was all part of the structuring information that I had already received. And we had been told that we were going to be exposed. And I was really impacted because after the apostle went to the place, he showed me with his actions what it is like to serve with surrender and dedication, to serve without expecting anything in return, to give everything with excellence. That was my first experience, and it was really impactful. Apostle says, yeah, as always, we like to hear everyone's experience and what mission really impacted them the most. And then from that, we elaborate. And Pastor Mirna says that we have been trained and prepared. And it's been so many missions. And see how we have opened this space in this podcast to talk about the different missions. Because in the ministry, everything has to do with mission. And everyone that comes to the ministry comes with a situation or a problem. And immediately, the ministry starts working with the lives to free them and form them. And after they've gone through all that process, then they're sent out to give by grace what they have received by grace. That's what a mission is. At the end, you are prepared to go and do for others what was done for you. And what Pastor Mina says is that she went through that process of formation and structure. And look how she highlights that mission in the U.S., where she was able to see what at some point within the ministry she had been instructed and taught. And it was amazing how she realized that everything that has taken place comes from the prophetic and is not something just by chance, but it is programmed, is something that comes within a timeline. And it is so good when everyone feels safe and secure. Something good about the Spirit is that He prepares you beforehand, before sending you. So the Spirit doesn't work like crazy. Yes, and I like that so much. I know that any process that I live in my life, that process is a preparation for something that I'm going to be sent to do, or something I'm going to execute. Yeah, it's how you have said before, says Luis Miguel, that we have a lab that prepares us for the mission. Yes. And Apostle says when the apostolic exposes, that means the apostolic is being nudged by the Spirit to expose a certain person. So you are exposed to do work that you typically wouldn't do. And you might wonder, but why am I doing this? Well, take that on, because that is part of a preparation for you. So Pastor Mirna is talking about something that now it makes me say, wow, it all makes sense now, because Pastor Mirna was sent to the TV network of this apostle that we were talking about, Apostle Reyes. And so she was exposed to a TV studio, and today you see Pastor Mirna preaching in front of a camera, and you see how she handles herself, but now it all makes sense. She was one of the first ones that was exposed to this. And today, she communicated that. And so it's so interesting that when you see her, you say, wow, she's such a professional. Well, the thing is that it's been a lot of experience, a lot of miles. And many don't know that every training in what you do, move a chair, help somebody, evangelism. Do you want better preparation than being part of the evangelism ministry? So everything here is a preparation, a formation. And then when you see an interview and you say, wow, the people of the ministry are so well spoken. Well, they've been talking for years in the evangelism ministry, talking to other people, counseling other people. And you say, wow, I remember when I used to give studies, I used to get so nervous at the beginning. Well, giving is also preparing you. While you're serving, you're being prepared. So when you are being prepared and you take things on, you get entrusted with more. There are people that are stuck because what they were entrusted with, they just kept it. And they just got stagnant. Some people said, I'm not moving from here. This is as far as I'm going to go. In your spirit, you feel when those people are saying, nope, I'm not doing anything else. I'm going up to here. And they don't know that they're communicating that, but what operates in them tells me that. And in reality, it's not really a good thing. It's not good. In the sense, Luis says, but well, maybe it's good that they identify that they don't want to do something, but no, that's not the point, says Apostle. Now, but when you sense that the person is unwilling to take on, you can tell, and you perceive that in your spirit, That's why the word teaches us that the diligent is sponsored by God, but the negligent is always in ruins, in failure. So if we let ourselves be led by the Spirit wants to prosper us. And I've always said that the growth and the expansion that comes from God, it comes in the level that you allow it. But there's no limit. There's no limit. In God, there's no limit. Because you are the one that stops or stagnates the flow and the progress and the expansion. God wants to give us everything in our hands. But how can He entrust you if you were given a little bit and you went crazy or you were negligent? Wow, Luis says. We don't know how to administer our little. Yes, and that's why Pastor Myrna was saying that there's always a preparation. So you're never exposed to something that you haven't been prepared for. Do you understand? Now, Pastor Myrna, in all that experience that you've had, what has been the most impactful? Well, to me, what's impacted me the most, says Myrna, is that I have to give by grace what I have received by grace. And as the previous podcast said, we cannot allow to be left behind. We don't want to miss the bus. If we are invited or selected for a mission, to be exposed for a mission, let's not allow ourselves, our ego, our pride, to miss that bus. We need to jump in as soon as we're invited to the mission. That's what I have learned the most. I have always been exposed in missions where you have to let everything go. Apostle used to always say that we need to let everything behind for Him, like Jesus did. So we can't be waiting for dad, for husband, for wife, for children. We have to leave it all behind because our north, our direction, is to save lives. So we cannot stop. When we are told to go and to run, we need to run. It's really strong, says Apostle, because you're being aggressive now. Now you're being violent. I didn't know you were going to get violent so quickly. There's something really interesting so that a person can be effective, and it is to understand that nothing they have belongs to them. Nothing they have belongs to them. Everything has to do with God. Everything has to do with God. Therefore, we cannot deviate from the purpose. And we have to be very aggressive, because if you want to see and if you want to get to know the marks or the enemy, simply decide to focus yourself on the purpose. That's right. That's why Pastor Myrna says that you cannot let children or husband or house or anything stop you from the purpose. But that attitude, you have to have that attitude. Listen, brother, the day you decide to focus on God's work, it is normal that every mark, generational, environmental, or personal, will manifest. Yes, Luis Miguel says, in each mission, there's so much resistance. Yes, Apostle says, that's why we don't light candles to the manifestations of the enemy. No. We don't give him credit. There's so much that I have to highlight of the greatness and wonders and miracles of God that I don't have time to pay attention to the little noise of the enemy. Because in the end, that little noise, it's just an illusion. And we are not here to be entertained by illusions. This isn't about realities. This is about the truth. Oof, Luis Miguel says. That's strong. Of course. Therefore, Apostle says, we have to be steadfast and firm. And I like hearing Pastor Myrna, who talks so nicely, but you feel like she has you feel how aggressive she is. You can sense it. So, I can picture her. And that's how it is. Look, people, if the enemy doesn't know that you believe, then he's always gonna try to get you. Wow, if the enemy doesn't know that you believe, then he's going to bet on you. What he does is he likes to entertain you because he says, no, I believe in her. I know she's going to hear me. She's not going to hear her God. I bet on the mark, the enemy says. I bet on the mark. So the enemy is always betting on that mark. Yes, I know, the enemy says. I know I marked her. I know how she gets dislocated. I know what I need to do so that she lets everything go and so that she denies her God. Like Job's wife said to him, curse God and die. She said to him, wow. And all of us go through that moment. All of us. There's always a moment for all of us where we're told, listen, your God is not listening to you. To worship God is a lifestyle. And that lifestyle is shown in the fruit, where you do what corresponds to you. Do what I'm supposed to do. That's why every child is under authority. Because if you're not submitted to authority, you will not have authority. And that is strong, says Luis. Every mission, says Apostle, has to come very clearly with the prerequisites. You have to be under authority because who's sending you? Look, who's sending you? Yeah, that's important. Some people say, well, I felt something from the Spirit. Okay, but what you felt from the Spirit, is that within the timeline? Not necessarily. Well, then there's a problem. Because in the ministry, there's a timeline already. It's a general timeline. So I have to get to know my chronograms, asks Luis Miguel. That sounds good, says Apostle. So we have to understand that we cannot move if we're not under authority. That's why the formation that Pastor Myrna was talking about, that's what gives us, number one, makes us effective. Being effective comes from what you know. You have to know in order to be effective. And we don't go out here just to see if we can make it. Because when we talk about principle of authority, the success of a mission stems from that. You have to be submitted. Okay, I'm going to write that down, says Luis. No, you need to say, Luis, is now I know why I couldn't make it before. It all makes sense. Now you're understanding. So all the failure that people have had, oh, what's going on, and the marks and this and that. No, my dear, it was one thing. You were never submitted to authority. So it's like a crazy head. It's like a crazy goat. So there are a lot of crazy goats that want to accomplish things without being submitted. You were not even submitted to the devil. The devil says, I wanted to guide that guy, but he didn't even want to listen to me. Of course. So the prerequisites. That's why I liked when Pastor Myrna started at the beginning saying that we're always prepared before we are exposed. I loved it. And it's true, because no mission, no person that has no knowledge is sent to a mission, especially if an authority sends you, because no one can send themselves. Nobody can send themselves. Nobody. You have to be sent. And there, everything stems from that. Am I being sent or am I sending myself? That's the big question. That is the prerequisite. The prerequisite for you to be effective. Of course. If there's something that I check on a mission, okay, am I being sent or not? Until I get that cue that I'm being sent, I don't go. Okay, what is the Spirit saying? Yes, that's important, says Luis. Apostle says, I don't care about anything. What does the Spirit say? Because if I don't have that seal, what do you think? That's where you see, oh, now everything makes sense. I moved so many things in emotion because of materialism, because of mammon, because of vanity, being moved by so many things, except for the only one that should move us, which is the Spirit. Wow. That's why in the apostolic, not only am I moved by the Spirit, but also to send somebody, it has to be by the Spirit. So when we say so-and-so go to that mission, that is not based on a human emotion. That's why we've always said we've never made mistakes in a mission. Well, because we do it under authority. And so the secret of being effective in a mission stems from being under authority. That's amazing. One of the things the pastor was saying was that previously there was so much training done. Like when she went to that mission that she was sent to, and when she went and saw everything, and she learned so much, and she understood many things that apostolically she had received during that time that she was being structured. Okay? So the puzzle is really cool. But everything stems from the fact that you don't send yourself. You don't send yourself. You are sent. If you have not been sent, don't move. And you might say, but how do I know that I was not sent? Well, your failure. Well, how do I know that I was sent? Well, your success. How do you, tell me. If I enjoy something in the ministry, it's the success. And that success, tell me the secret of success. We're telling you right now. Number one, be under authority. That's amazing, of course. And that authority, look what Pastor Mirna says, you were first formed and prepared. Notice that there's no craziness. This isn't just like taken lightly. No. That's why the rebellious, they don't submit to authority. They're always making something up. You know, the people that always wanted to do something. And what did Apostle say to the guy that always wanted to do something? But you didn't understand why we would say, okay, we're headed there. We got to get ready. Oh, but what if we do this? We're heading there. We got to prepare first because it's all about a structure. What you don't structure, you're not able to sustain. If there's something good in structure, is the fact that it allows you to sustain things. So consistency as well as being able to accomplish more, that tells you that there's a structure in place. Nowadays, as a ministry, we can handle many missions, international missions at the same time. And so you say, okay, listen, I used to be the only one that evangelized. Nowadays, we have over 100 evangelists. I used to be the only one that would preach. Today we have more than 40 preachers. I was the only pastor. Now we have 18 pastors. I used to be the only teacher. Now we have more than 40 teachers. So you say, okay, well then a structure is a good idea. Yes, you have to structure yourself. You have to let yourself be formed by the authority that's been delegated. Who is your authority? Let yourself be taught. So, it is important to understand that even the enemy will respect you according to who sent you. Wow. I didn't know that one, says Luis. No, that's a new one, says Apostle. That's why it is nice when you go and you have that seal of the Spirit and he says, go and listen. None of these missions are simple, or there's no simple mission. Not even moving that cup from there or what we do as a team, none of it is simple. Everything has its prerequisites and its own violence. But it's good that the experience that we've acquired, we depend on the Spirit, but everybody here knows that each thing has a price, of course. But there's no greater joy than doing what you're supposed to do. What do you think about that, Myrna? When you've accomplished your responsibility, well, you feel that joy and that satisfaction, that fullness that you accomplished the mission and it was effective. Of course, and that's how it is. Especially being effective. I love that. And when you analyze Jesus, you realize that in everything he moved by direction. He didn't move according to himself. He moved by direction. That's why the biggest example he gives us is to be submitted. And even his mother, he stopped her and he said to her, wait a minute, my father hasn't authorized me. So his own mother could not force him and violate what his father had said. That's why we have a direction. I repeat, this isn't just something that we do to see if we can make it. No. The whole ministry goes through a structure, formation, work, where you are led and you need to meet each one of those prerequisites. So it's not based on what you want. Check where you were, check where you got stuck. And if you got stuck in a certain area, ask, okay, what am I missing? What do I need to do? Do an assessment. Everybody here, do an assessment and check where did you get stuck. And if you don't know, ask for a call for counseling, because I assure you that you got stuck in an area because the Holy Spirit hasn't been able to delegate anything to you because you got distracted. When the Holy Spirit needs workers, because the work is much, but very few the workers. Listen to this. So the ministry never will get tired of preparing children to send them to the mission, because in these times where we have realized that the season is near, where this world is crying, the earth itself is crying and saying to God, come, your people await. Therefore, rise up, you that are asleep, and he will be your light.
Gracias por sintonizar nuestro podcast Misión GJ. Nos vemos en un próximo episodio.